Hello to everyone who is tuning in. Let's see here, tightening up some things, and I will be ready to rock in a second. All right, I'm pretty excited to be on this evening. Pretty motivated. Pretty motivated to be talking to you this evening. Let's see here. Let's get a water bottle here. All right. So happy to have everybody tuning in on this evening. As usual, I am live on Facebook and I am live on YouTube. On Facebook, of course, it is my Facebook page, Simon Steele. But if you want to jump in and tune in on YouTube, it is Coach Steele's Financial Training. Coach Steele's Financial Training. I'm getting a little older, y'all, so be patient. So definitely welcome this evening. Happy to have everyone here. It is about 8:47 Eastern Standard Time Zone. So not sure when you're watching or where you're watching, but I am definitely happy to have you all on with me this evening. I am excited about this topic, and I appreciate everyone tuning in. But today our topic is the presidential debate 2024, presidential debate 2024, and the financial impact of those debates, those conversations, some of the things that were said. How does it financially impact us, or how it can potentially financially impact us? So this is a great time to have a conversation, share information, thoughts, views, opinions, perspective openly. So each and every person, feel free to comment in here. Feel free to dive in on this discussion as we talk about the matter at hand. And let's see here. I'm going to set up that way I can make sure I can communicate and talk to you all throughout the process as well on my page and comment. But I look forward to talking to you all about the presidential debate 2024 that just happened with former President Trump and current President Biden, 45 versus 46. It was pretty interesting to say the least. And it started off with just enough concerning finances that was enough that had my ears tuned in. And I took my time and listened to a lot of what they said. But I want to really deal with a lot of the financial issues and matters that they touched on. And that'll be a lot of what I focus on. And I did kind of put a list of things that I plan on touching on about this subject. So I'm not sure how long I will go this evening, but I didn't put a time limit on myself. So once again, feel free to like, subscribe, and share as we get started. If you share it on Facebook, thank you very much. If you decide to jump in on YouTube and share it on your Facebook, or jump on YouTube and share it later, or subscribe, definitely would appreciate that. So let's dive right into this. One of the first things that caught my attention is when the moderator began to talk about the price of groceries. And he talked about how much it costs now to have a basket of groceries. And he said it used to, $100 basket of groceries now would cost someone, maybe over $120. And I thought that was interesting because I just made a YouTube video talking about the impact of inflation. And I'll make sure that I add that in here in the description when I'm done going live. And I'll make sure that I add it also on Facebook. But I just made a video talking about the impact of inflation in America right now. And also, I truly believe it's actually going to get worse. I really believe that inflation, the cost of living, is going to get worse in the next couple of months. I don't think it's about to get better. So feel free to jump in there and go back and catch that video. And as you subscribe to the YouTube channel, anytime I'm going live, anytime I post videos, you'll be able to get alerts, and you'll be able to catch all of that as it comes in and get it hot off the press, hot straight out of the kitchen. So When they talked about that, one thing that got my attention was if I used to spend $100 on groceries, it's not about 120 now. It's much worse than that. I don't know where the moderator came up with that number, but I just don't believe it. Because when we go buy groceries now, it's not maybe $20 more than what it used to be. It's completely different. If you are watching this and you bought groceries, you can see, you can remember what about $100 worth of groceries used to get you when you look in your shopping cart. You would say, okay, you have a basket, a shopping cart full of groceries, $100. You go home, you spend $100, you got food. When you go spend $100 worth of groceries now, you look in the shopping cart and it's still bare, it's still empty, and you're trying to figure out what it is you really bought. So I think he was completely off by that $20 increase in the cost of groceries now. It's much worse. It feels like it actually doubled. When you used to spend $100, now it feels like it takes $200. So I think his number was pretty conservative. And it made me wonder, when they are bringing up these issues and when they are debating, are they completely out of touch with reality? Are they really not aware of the conditions and how difficult things are for people right now, for the average American, whether they are uh, low income, whether they're average, or whether they're above average, whatever the case may be? I think they're just completely out of touch with what the average person goes through right now with the battle of inflation. Just off top, hearing that, I knew something was off. But once again, the cost of living in America, I believe and confident that it is not going to get better anytime soon, but is actually going to get a little worse in the next coming months. And I don't see any relief coming of them resolving the inflation issue. I just believe it'll continue to get worse. The cost of living will get worse. Your tissue will cost more. Groceries will cost more. There's nothing coming down the pike that is going to improve that. And so, what we have to understand, and one of the things I'm going to continue to drive home today, is you cannot look towards the government to resolve or improve your financial situation to a point to where it's going to change your life around. The truth of the matter is, you're going to have to take matters into your hand, improve your financial literacy, improve your budgeting, improve your self awareness and what's going on with you and how you connect with the economy that you're in, and how you can improve yourself, your household, and those around you. We have to take the initiative. We have to grab the financial situation by the horns and take charge of what it is we're trying to do, and most importantly, where we are going. And I'll dive into that as well. So we'll just start right there with the groceries estimates being completely off when they started off with that. Once again, go back and watch that inflation video. They mentioned the cost of housing being up about 30%. I believe one of the candidates mentioned that, or either one of the moderators, and how that's an issue as well. And I remember one of the candidates saying that they were going to work on improving the cost of housing, that they were going to work on bringing the cost of housing down. Think about that. Think about that. They are going to, the candidate said he was going to work on bringing the cost of housing down. When we know the past few years, the cost of housing to buy a house has been increasing. So how is he going to bring the cost of housing down? How is that possible when the prices have been climbing? Now we saw a few years ago, the real estate market, the cost of a house did decrease, but it was around 07, 08 when there was a big crash, a real estate crash. It took a housing bubble, real estate crash, to bring the cost of housing down drastically to where they became affordable and people found deals and things like that. So you have to ask yourself, one, how are you going to bring the cost of housing down when when you have people who decide how much the price of a house costs? Think about this, guys. Whenever you get ready to go buy a house, what they do is they look at the comps in the area. And I want to discuss just using basic logic today. One, I don't have all the answers, but I do want us to use basic logic so that when people are telling us things and they're telling us what they can do, what they will do, what they won't do, I want to use basic logic to see if it makes sense or if it doesn't make sense, to emphasize the point on why we have to be on top of our game. So, whenever they decide the price of a house or how much you will pay for the house, one thing they usually do before you pay is they will do an appraisal. And so when they do this appraisal on the house, they want to look at the comps in the area. They want to look at the comparables. And when they look at the comparables, that helps dictate the potential price that your house may sell at. So if the comps in the area are saying that the price is here for your house, then the price of your house is going to be comparable to that. So it can be sold for that amount. So I'm not quite sure how they are going to bring the price of the houses down when that's dictated by the comps in the area. Now, if you want to make purchasing a house long term more affordable or not as much of a financial burden, then you can bring down the rates. You can bring down the interest rates that someone is buying a house at. Now, if you bring down the interest rates long term, the house on an amortized loan, you won't spend as much money. But just because you reduce the interest rates doesn't mean you have reduced the cost at the house that you purchase it at. So there's a lot of play on with words that we have to be careful with when we are listening to what they're saying and what is realistic and what is not realistic. Another thing I want to deal with that we saw during the debates was one of the candidates, and two things, ladies and gentlemen that are tuning in. Anything that I say, do your research. Check with a financial advisor, check with tax advisors. Always do your own homework. Don't just take what I say um, as truth. Go do your own homework to make sure that what I'm saying is valid and whatever I'm saying works for you. If you decide to take action on anything, go get professional guidance and help. But I'm not trying to point the finger or pick on any candidate in specific. I want to talk about financial literacy and the presidential debate and how it affects us as people in America. And so, one of the other things that they discussed today was talking about the cost of rent, people that are renting in America and how to make it affordable as well. And one candidate had made a comment in regards of how he was going to make renting more affordable. And I'm not sure how many people on the line are renters or renting, but you don't have to. But if you want to, feel free in the comment section to type in renter. That way we can see how many people that are listening in are renters. So if you are a renter and you rent out a home, if you're in an apartment, whatever the case may be, short-term, long-term renters, feel free to type in renter in the comment section. So one of the candidates mentioned about making renting more affordable, making housing more affordable. Something else that I found interesting, because there's a lot of variables at play when we just say that it is possible to do that. So think about this. So we're going to all put our thinking caps on. One of the gentlemen mentioned that he would put a cap on how much rent could be. He would put a cap in this capitalist economy. He would put a cap on how much rent can be. Now, in every state, every county, every city, the cost of living is different. So how can you put a cap on how much rent will be universally? Think about that. It has to be a little more detailed than a broad statement that I'm going to put a cap on how much rent can be. And here's the other problem with that I found. Now, as I mentioned before, I do have rental property. I do rent out property. I do have tenants. One of the most trying things that has been difficult for landlords and tenants, homeowners and tenants, people in real estate, short-term, long-term property is many homeowners or landlords, whichever word you prefer, they don't always desire to increase the rent. It is not always their sole focus to increase rent on tenants that are staying in their property. Many of them would rather leave it at a decent rate. That way it is livable for the tenants. One of the problems in America that we have, when the value of the houses are increasing and they are selling at a certain price, usually what you can expect to see after that are the property taxes increase as well. How does that affect tenants? Well, the tenant doesn't pay technically, the tenant doesn't go in there and pay the property taxes. Now, the landlord or homeowner or the real estate investor will receive the rent and use a portion of that rent to make sure they pay the property taxes, or at least they should. So the tenant isn't going in there and paying the property taxes. The landlord, the homeowner, the real estate investor is paying the property taxes. So every time the value of the properties increase, then when that happens, property taxes increase. When property taxes increase, it automatically creates a domino effect, trickle-down effect, that the landlord, the real estate investor, is now going to have to increase rent to compensate for that liability, for that expense increasing. If insurance increases, then now, guess what? Rent is going to go up as well. And so what is happening at the top is affecting people down at the bottom. So it's easy to say that you would put a cap on how much rent can be, but if you put a cap on how much you can raise property taxes, that helps resolve the issue with how high rent can be. Because you can't put a cap on rent, but continue to increase the cost of property taxes, insurance, and other things. And so even people who are getting commercial loans or business loans to dive into real estate opportunities, as they have to refinance those loans and the interest rates are higher than before, well, guess what? That person is going to increase the rent, whether it's residential or whether it's commercial, to make up for that difference so that they can maintain their profit, their return on investment. And so there were a lot of interesting things said in the financial realm that has an impact on the average person in these presidential debates. And so we have to really take our time and think about what's being said, what's being promised, and is it realistic? Is it something that they can actually execute on their end, or is it going to take some more details? Is it going to be a little more complicated than what is said? And so I would have loved to be there to ask some of the questions and ask for more details. Well, how are you going to do that? Whether they had time or not, I would have loved to ask some more questions. And then what was interesting is one of the candidates said to help with the cost of living, the cost of housing and rent, they said they were going to build at least 2 million new units. Something else to think about. So to help with the cost of housing / rent, the solution was we're going to build 2 million new units. Well, I have a few questions. Who is we? Who is we? When you say we're going to build 2 million new units to help with housing and the cost of housing, how does that help with the cost? Anybody? Anybody have any thoughts? Anybody have any suggestions? Maybe there's something that I'm not thinking about, but how is building 2 million new units going to help? Let's see if I can dive on here and check on something. Suggestions. Maybe there's something. Sorry for the volume. I got my phone on live as well. But anyone, how does building 2 million new units help with the cost of rent and housing for people in America who are experiencing high rent? Now, whoever owns those 2 million units, they will probably benefit. They are probably going to be the beneficiaries of financial success. Because one, when he said that, I was wondering, who is we? Because he was talking about corporate greed and how corporations are being greedy and increasing the rent. And there are a lot of homeowners who are real estate investors that are not participating in corporate greed, but what they're doing is increasing the cost of rent in their home. One, so they don't lose their property because property taxes and insurance has increased. So therefore, they have to keep up. They have to be able to keep up, or what will happen is they will lose their home, or they may have to sell it, put it on the market, and a corporation may actually buy that property. Because what we're finding out now is there are big corporations, big companies who are buying single family homes and multifamily unit properties, but they are buying a lot of single family homes and then they are renting them out as well. And so, because it is becoming so expensive, corporations are able to now buy mass single family homes and rent them out. And it is putting people in a position to where many people will rent and many people will not own. Most people will rent, they will borrow, but they will have less ownership than ever before because of this. So just building 2 million units does not resolve or solve the issue with the increase of renting in America. And so it just allows someone else to profit and benefit from other people who will rent. And of course, I do have some videos that talk about, should you buy a home or shouldn't you? Feel free to jump on my YouTube channel and find that video that talks about, should you buy a house? Is buying a house affordable? And I go through that process and show you the steps to be able to do the math to determine whether or not it makes sense to buy a house. And even if you did buy a house, how you don't have to wait 30 years to pay it off. But you can use a system that I know about through accelerated banking with the Quat brothers and be able to pay that mortgage off potentially in between 5 to 7 years. I had a mortgage. I bought a house in February 2020. I had a 30-year mortgage. So I wasn't scheduled to pay that house off until 2050, the year of 2050. But I learned about the accelerated banking program with the Quat brothers, dove into that education system and learned what it is that they teach, ended up paying off my mortgage in 3 years and 7 months. Now, my original payoff projections, they told me it would be about 5.5 years, ended up finishing almost 2 years sooner than that and paid a 30-year mortgage off in 3 years and 7 months. And who knows, you may be able to do the same thing, or you may be able to do it a little bit quicker. But either way, 3 years and 7 months was much better than 30 years. And so that allows me to have a little more cash flow and a little more freedom. So back to this presidential debate. Oh, I'm sorry. I will say this. If you are interested in getting more information about accelerated banking, using the HELOC strategy to pay your mortgage off in between 5 to 7 years, feel free to connect with me. Feel free to leave something in the comments or on the YouTube. I'll find it. You can inbox me, messenger me, and I'll make sure that you get that information as well. So another interesting thing, one of the most intriguing things out of the debate that many people were asking and trying to understand when it comes to financial impact, they were talking about Black jobs. Did anyone here when they were discussing and having a debate about black jobs in America? And what I was trying to figure out was, like many other people, when we talk about this financial impact in our economy, what is a black job? Now, someone may know, and feel free to comment what a black job is. I don't mind. Feel free, educate me, help me understand what a black job is. Because when they were talking about black jobs in America, I never knew that the jobs were color coded. Did anyone here know that the jobs in America were limited by race or by culture? It was interesting because when that is brought up in a presidential debate, who decides to present that question in that manner? And who helps the candidates decide how to respond in such a way that causes confusion throughout America? Is it that easy to have a lack of, what is it, understanding, regard, respect? Are they so out of touch that they can't recognize what they're saying when they talk about black jobs? I've seen lawyers from different cultures, different colors. I've seen doctors from different cultures, different colors. I've seen teachers from different cultures and different colors. I've seen janitors, different cultures and different colors. I've seen podcasters, different cultures, different colors. We can go down the list of different occupations in America, and the occupations do not have a color requirement on them. Or do they? Because if they do, then I think the candidates should have let us know what jobs are the black jobs. Because I'm sure there are black people that are applying for jobs all throughout America, not knowing that they were limited to a certain ones. I'm not saying the candidate said we are limited, but they did talk about black jobs. So what jobs are those? And are those only for black people? Go in more detail about what it is that you meant. So you must understand when we talk about financial literacy, no matter what color you're from, no matter what country you're from, no matter what culture you're from, you must understand that there is a cap and there is a limit mentally, and they can go into statistics and everything, but there is a certain expectation that people expect for you to fall in. It's why it's so important that you understand financial literacy and you take charge over your life financially to create an impact such a way that you do not find yourself in these categories and you limit yourself to where the boxes that they say you should be in. Entrepreneurship is for every color, every creed, every nationality. No matter where you're from, everyone is entitled to entrepreneurship. That's one of the reasons why they say America is one of the greatest places in the world to live. Land of the free, home of the brave. What are black jobs? I was in the military for almost 7 years. I was in the Army. But being in the Army, you get to see Marines, you get to see National Guard, you get to see Air Force, you get to see the Navy. And being in the Army and looking at these other branches, I saw every culture, every color in every branch of the military. So from teachers to doctors to lawyers to janitors to military, I still don't understand what are Black jobs. Do not allow anyone to limit you to a certain field, a certain career path. That's why I push entrepreneurship so much. Having your own business or being self-employed or finding a creative way to make your own product or services. That way you'll have another way to bring in cash flow, to bring in income. I want to talk about taxes and Social Security as well. Taxes and Social Security. But before I do that, what I found interesting, and this is why I'm telling each and every person on here, shift your thinking when it comes to financial literacy. Educate yourself. Find a good resource or resources when it comes to learning about financial literacy. Financial literacy, there's a wide, vast, broad list of information. It's a big pool to swim in. So you have to start somewhere. You have to start micro and eventually get macro. Don't be intimidated. Start somewhere. What you don't know how to add up, don't get frustrated. Have a starting point so that you can grow. And you will see yourself as you take baby steps in this financial world. You will find yourself growing 1 month to the next, 1 year to the next, and you can build and compound on it. And you're going to find yourself in a better place. If you limit yourself to what other people limit you to, then you're going to be stuck there. It is time to push and press that envelope. It is time to press past that point of comfortability where you are right now. Listen to what I'm saying. It is time that we push ourselves to a whole nother level. Even if you're comfortable financially, educate yourself more. If you're doing well, look around you and find out who's not. And it's okay to buy somebody a book about financial literacy. They may read it today. They might not read it till next year. Help someone else. Videos like this, share this video with somebody. We have to open up our minds and help our loved ones and help ourselves by increasing our financial literacy. We're at a difficult point to where you're going to be stuck at a certain place and point if you're not willing to grow financially. You're going to be stuck at a certain point because when they shift and move and make adjustments and change laws, it's going to be hard to dig yourself out of a hole that they put you in. Because just like they can say, and I don't care what color you are or who's listening in, I love everyone, but just like they say there's Black jobs, they will decide who you are, where you are, and where you should be, who should get Social Security and who should not. And that has nothing to do with color. But do not allow people to put you in a box. And if you are in one, it's time to bust the box open and climb yourself to a better place financially. When we are trying to figure out how to improve ourselves, how to better ourselves financially, you have two candidates that decided to have an argument. Let me calm down because I sound upset. We have two candidates that decided to have an argument or debate about who is the better golfer. There was a conversation during the presidential debate about who is the better golfer, and they're having a golf competition and whether or not they should compete. Meanwhile, there are Americans who are struggling to make it month to month financially. Now, they are comfortable enough to have an argument and they can talk about whatever they want. It is their debate. And they have positioned themselves in life to be in front of all of America to discuss and have a conversation about golf. I'm not upset with them talking about golf during a presidential debate. Do I think it was the best use of time? No. But this is my point. If you are in a place financially that is uncomfortable and you're struggling, and you hear them talking about golf instead of resolving issues and problems financially in America, It further proves my point that you cannot wait and try to depend on someone else to solve your financial issues. We are the solution. Each and every person has to take financial ownership and say, I'm going to turn it up a notch. I'm going to take it up another level. I'm going to be a better steward financially. And how do we do that? By starting with the basic backbone, which is creating and understanding your budget. Understand your budget. Understand what you have coming in, which is your income, which is, I call that the green, and understand what you have going out. Do not take a budget lightly. Don't guesstimate. Don't try to say, oh, well, it's roundabout. There's too much evidence. There's too much data to really get a better number. And what you want to do is look at the past 2 months of your financial statements and information. That's one thing that I'll do. We have bank statements, we have credit card statements. There's too much data right at your fingertips to help you get real live in-time information of what you had coming in and what you had going out. Now, I will say sometimes I don't like pulling that information in November and December because I believe a lot of people spend more money than usual in those 2 months because of holidays and travel and gifts and things like that. So that won't really give you the average or the norm. But we need to start off with a good budget and find out what we have coming in and what we have going out, ladies and gentlemen. And once you find that information out, I don't care if you write it down on a piece of paper. I don't care if you put it on an Excel sheet, but it needs to be on something instead of just sitting in your head. Once we get it on paper or an Excel sheet, then we can start evaluating needs, wants, and savings, what we want to put up when we pay ourselves first. And I'll dive in a little more into that at a later date when we deal with needs, wants, and savings, when we pay our future selves, when we have an emergency fund. And you have to really be realistic with yourself as you separate those things as needs, wants, and savings. Because when we look at those wants, we'll find out what we have to take care of, what is priority, and what are some things that we can potentially go without to put ourselves in a better situation. Because you can decide to continue to struggle while people talk about golf, or while they're talking about golf, you can start figuring out how to improve your situation by taking charge and taking action. Another thing they talked about was taxes during the presidential debate. They talked about whether or not to raise taxes or whether or not to lower taxes, and how to, one candidate mentioned talked about raising taxes on the wealthy, raising taxes on people who make tons of money, big business, and things like that. The other candidate's mindset was do not raise taxes on the wealthy and big business because it's not beneficial, and that when the taxes were lower, the economy was doing better and there was more money, there was more flow of money when the taxes were lower. Interesting debate and conversation there. And what's interesting is when one candidate said that we should raise taxes on the wealthy and big business because they pay the least taxes. I can't remember the percentage, but I think he may have mentioned they pay maybe only 9% of the taxes. Think about it. That is on purpose. That is premeditated. There are rules. There are tax laws that allow people to have tax breaks, tax deductions, and benefits so that they do not have to pay so much taxes. Some people know the rules and some people don't. So therefore, the average person who doesn't know, they probably pay too much on taxes because they're not exercising the laws and rules and benefits for their benefit, to save them more money, to allow them to keep more money in their pocket and having to give less to Uncle Sam. But big business and wealthy people will hire people, tax advisors, CPAs that will find the rules and laws to save them money. So, what am I saying? You can increase the taxes on wealthy people and big business. But what they're going to do is find rules, laws, and benefits to continue to decrease the amount of taxes that they pay. So, raising the taxes on the wealthy or big business isn't always the solution to solving that problem. When we're talking about how we're going to have more money for Social Security and other things, you can try to raise taxes on the wealthy and big business, but as long as they have money to pay people to help them find and understand the laws and the rules to keep that money in their pocket, they're going to continue to do that. So it's just interesting debate of ideas and things that people wanted to do, but in reality, what is going to be most effective, what is not going to be most effective. And so when we talk about taxes, another thing I suggest is get with someone who understands tax rules, tax laws, and maximize those to your benefit. That way you have to give less money to the government by following the laws and the rules. And one of the easiest and one of the best ways you can do that is by having your own business. When you have your own business, when you're an entrepreneur, I don't care if it's solo, if you're self-employed, I don't care if you have it under LLC or whatever the case may be, S corp, C corp, whatever the deal is. As long as you have a business, you open up the door. You open up the door that allows you to use more tax laws and rules for your benefit. But get with a professional and find that information out. I am not an expert on taxes, but I do understand that there are a lot of benefits when you do have your own business, and that will help save you a lot of money. And there's so much more you can go into detail about taxes, but I'm not going to touch on it. And lastly, Social Security. That was one of the other subjects that they talked about, which helped emphasize one of the points I made on one of the videos when I talked about the importance of passive income. One of the candidates said that Social Security, if we continue on the path that we're on, Social Security may not be here in the next, whatever he said, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it was. It could potentially be gone. Think about that. There are some people, some elderly people that are over 65 or 67, and the only income that they have is Social Security. That's the only income that they have. They don't have anything else at their disposal. So if there was no Social Security, there would be a lot of people who are probably homeless or without food, so on and so forth. So what I believe, as that pot, that Social Security pot, continues to dwindle down, I believe they'll continue to push back when you have access to Social Security. That way, it allows the pot to stay, at a decent amount. They'll continue to push the age back potentially, or the amount that they're allowed to give, which is difficult because the cost of living is increasing. So it's hard to decrease the amount that you're giving. And so, what is my point here when it comes to Social Security and whether or not it's going to be here in 10 to 15 years, or whether it's going to be depleted, or whether or not you may have a limited amount that you have access to, or whether you have to wait till you're 75 to get it? What is my point about it? Do not put yourself, if you can, I understand everybody's situation is different, but do not put yourself in a situation, especially my young people, to where 15, 20, 30 years from now, you have to be dependent on Social Security. If you're able to get it, great, that's fine. But do not, if it's in your power, my young people, do not put yourself in a position to where you are solely dependent on Social Security, as long as you have the ability to create other opportunities for yourself. I made a video about the importance of passive income for a reason. And passive income is extremely important. Passive income, I like to describe it as money that comes into your bank account, comes into your pockets or into your hands, whether you're awake or whether you are asleep, whether you're present or not. That cash flow, that money comes in because you have created a situation for passive income to come into your presence. And I believe that we have to be creative and find other ways to bring in passive income. That video on Facebook that I made about passive income, it talks about real estate, whether you're long-term or short-term renters, whether you have tenants or whether you're doing Airbnb, being in a position as a real estate investor, it gives you the opportunity to create passive income for yourself and for your family. And so many people would be surprised that the money that you make, that you have coming in for your 9 to 5, if you take your time and dive into that real estate world, you can truly eventually get yourself to the point that what you make at your 9 to 5, you can build a real estate portfolio that brings in the same amount every single month as your 9 to 5 does. And so as you slowly build that real estate portfolio, ladies and gentlemen, and you can do it, you can do it. And you don't have to rush to do it. You don't have to do it all in 1 year. Take your time and build it strategically. Take your time and find good deals. And if you need a good real estate program to be mentored and to guide you through that process, once again, let me know. I'll connect you with the right people that do have a real estate program that you can learn from and be educated in. And just remember, when you're learning important things when it comes to real estate, when you're learning those key things, this information isn't going to always be free. You can try to learn some things on your own, but being educated and being mentored the right way is more than worth the cost. It's more than worth it because you'll get that back in return 100-fold. And so it is important, once again, when we talk about passive income, understand different ways that you can get passive income. And so real estate is just one of them. Whether you're investing into your 401k plan, and of course, if your company is matching whatever that percent is, whether they're matching 3%, find out. Get with whatever company, whatever part of that department, HR, whoever it is, find out your benefits on your job. How much is the company matching when you put into your 401k plan? Get with a financial advisor and find out if you are trying to retire, how much money should be in that retirement, in that 401k plan or in your IRA. Find out how much money needs to be in there by what date to make your goals of having cash flow come in realistic and amount for your quality of living and your lifestyle. If you're used to making $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, how much needs to be in that retirement account so that it's flowing in even when you're no longer working at that 9 to 5 job? And I made a YouTube video about is retirement possible and talked about passive income. So go on YouTube and check out that is retirement possible video. And so another easy way to create passive income without necessarily having to do too much work at all is investing in dividend stocks. There are also ETFs that provide dividends as well, but you can invest in ETFs, exchange traded funds, and ETFs, like I like to call them, a gumbo of stocks. And so you can invest in that, or you can individually invest in certain stocks that give dividends. And so as you invest in those stocks, whether they give dividends quarterly or whether they do it monthly, they're money that you'll get back depending on how many shares you have. And that's money that you make. Of course, it is a capital gain. Now, keep in mind, as you continue to make money, as you continue to receive dividends, the value of those shares can increase as well. The company can do well. So not only are you making dividends monthly or quarterly, but your investment can also increase as well. So that's why I like dividend stocks. It's very similar if you are renting out properties. And in this way, dividend stocks, you can make money monthly and your investment can increase in value. So when you sell, you can make a profit, or you continue to make money monthly or quarterly, annually. Same thing with real estate. If you have renters, you make money monthly, but also the property can increase in value as well. So if you do decide to sell, you can make a profit, or you can grab the equity out of there and leverage it for another business opportunity or real estate deal. So once again, put yourself in a position to create passive income. And sometimes when investing, it may be as little as $5 or $10 a month. You may, let's say you do dividend stocks, you find some good dividend stocks, you invest, and you make $5 a month or $5 a quarter. It's a start. Take the profit, take the dividends, and reinvest them back into that investment. You don't have to take the money and run with it now and put it in the gas tank unless it's necessary. But take the funds, the dividends, reinvest them back into that investment. And now you can allow the dividends, the profit that you're making, to allow you to buy more shares to increase, to improve your position. And so now you're not always having to use as much of your money to invest in that thing that you're investing in. And you're using the profits to invest in there as well. And I'll do a video about a few dividend stocks. I'll do it next week. So stay tuned there, and I'll show you a small sample size example of some dividend stocks that I've invested in and I make a little money from. And I just did it as an experiment. So I'll show you one of those. And so as we come close towards the end of this live, I've been on for about 51 minutes talking about presidential debate and the financial impact of them talking about inflation, which, like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, I talked about, I believe inflation is going to get worse. So we really need to get on top of our game and buckle down financially and figure out our budget and what we have coming in and going out and what we need to eliminate, because the cost of living is going to go up. Just my personal beliefs. As much as they talked and said yesterday, I don't see them coming up with a solution for inflation no time soon. Also, renters. I do not think the cost of renting is going to go down anytime soon as well. I don't think building 2 million new units is going to bring the cost of renting down. I believe if they decrease the cost or the increase in property taxes in the cities and in the counties, if they decrease property taxes, then it allows homeowners, landlords, real estate investors to decrease the rent costs. That is what's going to help with decreasing rent. As far as home prices, once again, like we talked about that, long story short, the people who are deciding the cost of how much you can sell a house for, they're looking at the comps in the area. So if someone sells a house for 200,000, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2,000 square feet, and you're selling your house and it's 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2,001 square feet, that's a comp. It's right there. That's what's going to help dictate and determine that. I don't think someone can just decide that we're going to make the houses cheaper. There's too many other pieces to the puzzle. There's too many other variables. Once again, we'll still be on the hunt looking for what Black jobs are and what jobs each culture is supposed to go get based on their color. Didn't know the jobs were color coded. Golf competitions, unnecessary while people are struggling in America. Taxes, once again, get yourself a business. Get yourself a business so that you can open up yourself to the other tax laws and opportunities that are there for you. Social Security, put yourself in a position to create more passive income so you don't have to depend on Social Security. If you get it, great. But if you don't need it and you get it, it's icing on top, it's extra money. So remember, there are other ways to have that passive income. I will be going live tomorrow. And let's see, I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to go live 8:30 or 9 a.m. I'm just going to settle it here. I'm going to go live at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'll go live 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. I did a video discussing dealing with retirement and is it possible? I'm going to leave the presidential debate information and things alone. I think I want to do a part two on, is retirement possible? So that may be the conversation tomorrow. Once again, I may wake up in the morning and feel like talking about something completely different, but I appreciate everyone who has tuned in, everyone who watched it live, people who are going to watch it later and catch some of it. Feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment of things you want to discuss, things you want to learn about, things you may be interested when it comes to financial literacy. It's an awesome subject to discuss. I enjoyed working with one of my young people, someone I used to mentor a few years ago, and I guess in a way I still am. She's doing amazing, but I had a fun time connecting with her last Saturday, and we were discussing high yield interest savings account, how to get things set up, her retirement funds, how to potentially pay off her mortgage and in a soon enough time. And so we had a great time just doing a one-on-one. I don't want to call it counseling, but guiding her through the process to get things set up as she continues to propel herself financially in life at such a young age. And she's going to do awesome. And that's what you have to be willing to do. Be able to get with someone who can guide you through the process one on one, someone that you can trust and understand that they're going to hold you accountable and help push you to the point that you need to be financially. We have to get to a point to where we are financially independent. And I'm going to continue to talk about it and continue to push the envelope, and have a lot of other good things coming up. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to watch a certain movie about financial literacy, and we're going to discuss that movie. Let's say Anitra said, I did neither, hashtag Black Jobs. I've been working on a different path for passive income. Dividend stocks, can't wait to learn more about those. Yes, definitely. I'm going to do a video about dividend stocks and show a little of, not all of it, because I don't want everybody to get too nosy, but I'm going to just show a small dividend stock portfolio, some things that I did, and show you how simple and easy it is and something that you can do for yourself as well. So I definitely appreciate everybody joining in, whether you came late, whether you came on time, or whether you're watching this after the fact. Share it with someone else, send it to someone else who needs that motivation and that push to change their life financially. We are going somewhere. Understand that. We are taking this from where we are now and we're going somewhere else. And I'm excited about where we're going. And just like a rocket, we're taking off and we're out of here. So, where you see us at now, you'll see us somewhere different. And lastly, I appreciate every person that helped me get to the 200 subscribers. That was pretty cool. I looked at it today. I'm at 202. And I definitely could not have done the 202 without you. Maybe I could have got myself to maybe 3 or 4, but I definitely couldn't have got there without you all. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. It's pretty awesome. Who knows what number we're going to be at by the end of July. So I definitely appreciate the support, and I want to make sure that I continue to support you all as well. One of the movies we're going to be watching, and you can go ahead and get yourself ready to watch it. We're going to discuss and watch. It's called The Banker. The movie is called The Banker. It's an interesting movie. So go ahead and start prepping yourself to watch that movie, The Banker, and then we'll come back and discuss it. We'll watch things like The Wolf of Wall Street, all kind of other good things that we'll come back and debate and talk about and see how it affects us financially, what we can learn from it. Once again, I appreciate everybody from tuning in. Be blessed and have a nice evening. And I will see you all tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 a.m., 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone. Have a good day.